We'll start our session with a small Mangalam. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Shuklam Vardharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Prasanna Dhyayet Sarvavignopasantaye Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Triambake Devi Narayane Namaste. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste everyone and welcome to the fourth day of our Purana Katha series. In this series, we are to explore Puranas in simpler terms and trying to understand the essence of different Puranas and how Puranas are uh, useful and important in our today's generation. So, I'll give a small introduction. So, with the blessings of Bhagavati and with the vision of our Acharya, we have started a small center for Puranic and Shastric studies in Pradesh. And at this center, we are trying to teach students uh, um, the essence of Purana and Shastras along with the contemporary education so that they can become good future leaders. And along with this, at our Acharya, we also have a Veda Pathshala. This is the small introduction of our foundation, and we'll share our social media links and websites in the group so you can visit there and know about us more. So, coming back to the session, today's session we'll be exploring the divine feminine, the Shakti Tattva in Puranas. And today with us we have Shri Dr. Ramachandrasekhar Acharya. So, who is not only a scholar in Indian Epistemology, but also a Shiva Pratyabhijna expert and a Shakti Upasaka himself. He have also authored book on Devi Mahatmya. And in today's session, try to understand Devi and also get some insights from Acharya. Dhanyavada. Over to you, Acharya.
विशुद्धिज्ञानदेहाय त्रिवेदी दिव्यचक्षुषे श्रेयःप्राप्तिनिमित्ताय नमः सोमार्धधारिणे नमो यामिनीनाथ रेखालङ्कृतकुन्तलां भवानीं भवसन्तापनिर्वापणसुधानति. धन्यवाद Anirudh. It is indeed a pleasure to be participating in this Purana Katha series, and more so with a vision to take the Puranas to the youngsters or to the young minds at least, because normally the understanding that is prevalent is that Puranas are myths, mythologies. Unfortunately, the usage of such borrowed terms does a lot of damage in the psyche of the Bharatiyas. Because without even understanding what myth in English language means, we tend to over apply that particular terminology to refer to our Puranas. There might have been many speakers who would have given the distinction between the Itihasa and the Puranas. Itihasa is Itiha-asa, wherein the author, that is Adi Kavi Valmiki or Maharshi Badarayana Vedavyasa, were the eyewitness, and the narratives in these two texts are eyewitness account. That is why they are Itihasa. Whereas Purana is a retelling of incidents that have happened in the past. When we speak of past, we have to remember we believe in the concept of a cyclolinear conception of time. Kala Chakra. When we say Kala Chakra is not cyclic. It is cyclolinear. It moves both ways, in the circular fashion and as well as in the forward direction. So in our conception of Kala as cyclolinear, when we speak of incidents in the past, the incidents of the past are also from not only the present yuga, but from the yugantar. Now that will be a very interesting subject to take up and discuss the concept of the yuga and to see whether the concept of yuga matches with the current understanding of cosmology. The way the science understands the cosmic cycles and the way that we have conceptualized Kala. But since the topic that Anirudh asked me to speak today is Devi Mahatmya, and though it is Devi Mahatmya, but understanding the concept of Kala is very, very important here because the entire question, I will come to that in some time, the entire Upodghata of Devi Mahatmya starts with the questioning of the various Manus. So the conception of Manu or the Manvantaras, Kalpas, the Mahayugas, all these, they have been currently been studied and shown that they correspond to certain cosmic events, or they refer to a cosmic calendar, events in a cosmic calendar. A good amount of work has been done by D.K. Hari and his wife Hema Hari on this. So coming back to the questions of Puranas are the narratives that have happened in various points of time. That is the reason why we find certain differences in narratives between the Puranas. And also in texts like Kalika Purana, we find the same Vadha of Mahishasura being described in 3 different kalpas by 3 different forms of Devi. So it is because of the differences in the yugas that we have the differences in the narratives. The differences in the narrative is not a mistake. The differences are not due to lack of understanding or any fictitious introduction by some human author. So one has to understand how the whole scope of Purana has been laid out by our rishis and acharyas. Now coming to the specific Devi Mahatmya, also known as Chandi. The beauty of Chandi or Durga Saptashati or Devi Mahatmya, all these 3 names refer to the same text, but they are used to denote 3 different aspects of the text. For example, the term Chandi, when it is used, it refers to the mantric nature of the text. When we use the term Devi Mahatmya, because it is not a term that someone else coined, Bhagavati herself coined that term, and we find it Mahatmyam Uttamam, she says. So, Devi Mahatmya is the name coined by Devi herself for this. When we say Devi Mahatmya, it is referring to predominantly the 4 stotras that we come across in the text. One is the Brahma Stuti, the second is the Shakra Stuti, or also known as Aparajita Stuti. The third is the Devadi Stuti. The fourth is also the Devadi Stutis, but the third happens before the Shumbhani Shumbhavada and the fourth happens after the Shumbhani Shumbhavada. To refer to these stotra, the term Devi Mahatmya is used, and Durga Saptashati is used to refer to that three charitras, the three portions of the text. And Saptashati is 700, but unlike our normal understanding of Saptashati, it is not 700 shlokas. It is 700 components, because we will find that while we enumerate 700, we would have included the different, the many uvachas that come. Certain shlokas are ardha shlokas that they come in. All these account and sum up 700. So, as a text, when we want to refer to it, it is called as Durga Saptashati. As the stotra, it is the Devi Mahatmya. And when we refer to it as a mantra, it is Chandi. So when we speak of the Saptashati as mantra, see, I will try to present this, but it will be a lifelong journey to even understand the Saptashati Mahatmya. It was really a blessing of my Shri Guru that I was able to even grasp a smallest bit from this. It is such a powerful, it is one answer to any problem that we have. Okay. It is a Mahamantra. And there are several texts that speaks about how to understand, how to break down this particular textual corpus. But the most authentic version that even Bhaskar Raya refers to while commenting on the Durga Saptashati in his Guptavati Tika is the Katyayani Tantra. So Katyayani Tantra is that text which gives us exactly which is the Purna Shloka, which is the Ardha Shloka, because there are so many editions of Durga Saptashati available. If you would have had an opportunity to see, one edition will not agree with the other edition in both reading as well as in the numbering, the Shloka numbering. The reason is that there are at least 4 prominent recensions of Durga Saptashati available. There is one distinct Maithili Patha, which is available. There is one Prachya Patha, the one which is popular in the Bengal and the eastern region. And there is one Patha which is as per the Katyayani Tantra. And there is one Auditya Patha of Saptashati. Now, Katyayani Tantra, it has been taken not only by Bhaskaraya, but there are several other commentators on Saptashati. Most of them consider Katyayani Tantra Patha to be the most authentic, or not authentic, to be the most powerful way of understanding the Saptashati as a text. So, going by the Katyayani Tantra, when we try to understand, we have close to around 34 Uvacha. We have around, we have around 57 Uvachas in the entire text, around 108 Ardha Shlokas, 535 Purna Shlokas, totaling 700. This is how we get the Saptashati Sankhya. Now, why is it a mantra? It is a mantra because the prerequisite for the chanting of Devi Mahatmya is the Navakshari mantra. One has to get an Upadesha of the Navakshari mantra, and then alone will he become eligible for the Parayana Krama of Saptashati. See, when we speak of the Patha, we are calling or we are referring to the Parayana Krama. Otherwise, since it is part of Markandeya Purana, it is a Pauranika Grantha. Everyone is allowed to chant the 4 stotras, the stutis. But if one has to reap the full benefit of the Saptashati as a Patha, what are all the benefits? Devi herself has given all the benefits in the Dwadasha. She has listed out all the benefits that that a person will be able to enjoy. To reap those benefits, one has to follow through the Parayana Krama, which includes the Purvanga as well as the Uttaranga, Kavachargala Kilaka Patha and the Rahasyatraya and others. So for doing that, one has to be initiated into the Navakshari Mantra. Now, what is this Navakshari Mantra? Unfortunately, the most misused, ill-treated mantra in the Bollywood and other series. Everyone seems who is indulged in black magic or things, we would be shown uttering this particular mantra of Devi. But the Uddhara of the mantra we find in the Devi Atharvashira Upanishad, which in certain sampradayas is chanted before the Saptashati Patha itself. So in the Atharvashira Upanishad, we have one Uddhara shloka for this mantra. Vangmaya Brahmasuhu Tasmat Shashtham Vaktra Samanvitam Suryo Avama Shrotra Bindu Yuktashtat Tritiyakaha Narayanena Sammishraha Vayuscha Adharai Samyukaha Viche Navarnakornaha Syat Mahadananda Daya. This is the Uddhara shloka of the mantra. Why are mantras given as Uddharas? Why are they not given spashta, clearly laid out? Because most of the powerful mantras you will not find in the Mula Tantras or the Mula Granthas as you find in the printed books available, right? The whole point was that the mantras have to be received Guru Mukha as a proper initiation from a Shri Guru should be practiced. It should not be taken from any written textbooks. One may ask, what will happen? Nothing. It will be like you are reading something, but you will not get the benefit of a mantra upasana because mantras are not Shabda Rashi. According to the Tantras and the Agamas, the conceptualization of mantra is slightly different. They are treated conscious entities. They are Chetana Tattvas, not Shabda Vikaras. So these mantra, they elevate a being by removing the Shat Kanchukas, the 6 kinds of limitations that results in Shiva understanding himself as a Jiva. So the Siddhanta is that Nishkanchukaha Jivaha Shivaha. When the Jiva removes his Kanchukas, the wheels, the 6 types of wheels, he is Shiva. Sakanchukaha Shivaha Jiva. And why does this happen? That is his Leela. Shiva puts on this wheel upon himself out of his own sport. That is why the Tantra Agamas and even the Puranas, we subscribe to the Leela Vada. So it is his Leela that he puts on. Like, coming back. So the mantras, they help us to alleviate ourselves from these Shat Kanchukas, and these Shat Kanchukas are represented in the Shadanga Nyasa that any mantra is preceded. See, when we take the any mantra, you have to do the Rishi, Chandas, and the Devata. Then you go on to do the Karanyasa and the Hridayadi Nyasa. The Hridayadi Nyasa and the Karanyasa, there are 6. Okay? It will be 6 numbers. These 6 are the removal of the Shatkanchukas. So every day a person indulges himself in Mantropasti, he is breaking one brick, which is keeping himself away from realizing himself as Shiva himself. So the Mantropasti ensures, and how does it do? Not because it is Shabda Rashi, because it is a Chetana Tattva. It is a manifestation of Shiva himself, which is in the form of the mantra. So in the Kashmir Shaivism, it is one of the Sapta Pramatra Bhumika. Mantra is one of the Sapta Paramatas, 7 types of cognizers. So coming back to the Uddhara Shloka, so the whole point of giving the mantras, especially the Mahavidyas, as Buddha, is only to keep a person away from simply lifting it off from the text and reading, and also ensuring that while we may write a mantra, there are chances of scribal errors coming in, right? But when it is given as an Uddhara, you cannot go wrong. Okay, you cannot go wrong here. And one of the best examples you will find for a scribal error is Chandi Navakshari itself. 99% of the books, printed books, carry the mantra not in the way that you find in the Uddhara Shloka. So once we look into the Uddhara Shloka, you yourself will understand what I am speaking of. Let's try to quickly do this Uddhara. So the shloka is Vang Maya Brahmasuhu. So Vak refers to the Vagbhava Bija, which is Aim. Maya refers, all these are tantric terminologies. Okay, there are tantric dictionaries which you can use to cross-reference what these are. So normally they use such terminologies, or they will use the Bhuta Sankhya, okay, or even some at times the Katapayadi in order to give this coded shlokas. So Vak is Aim, Maya is the Maya Bija, which everyone knows, which is the Hrimkara. Okay. Then Brahmasuhu. Brahmasuhu means the cause of Srishti. Brahma representing Srishti. So Brahma Su means that Bija which is responsible for Srishti. And the Bija which is responsible for Srishti is called as the Kama Bija. And the Kama Bija is Klinkara. So we have the first 3 Bijaksharas in Vang Maya Brahmasuhu. Then the shloka says Tasmat. After that, Shashtham. Tasmat Shashtham means from the first letter of the Kama Bija, which is Ka, which is the 6th letter from Ka. It is Cha. So, Tasmat Shashtham. So, 6th from Ka, which is Cha. Vaktra Samanvitam. Vaktra means face. There is one nyasa which normally anyone who is introduced to the mantropasti would be asked to do, which is called as a matrika nyasa. Matrika nyasa is placing the 51 aksharas in the different places of one's sharira. So, and the position of these letters do not change. So in that, the position for the Dirgha Akara, A, is face. Am Namaha, Am Namaha. Okay. So A is Vaktra, the face. So here the shloka says Vaktra Samanvitam. So Cha Vaktra Samanvitam. Cha with A. So we get the letter Cha. Then we have Suryaha. Surya is a term which refers to the Akshara Ma. Then we have Avama Shrotra. Vama Shrotra, left ear. Avama Shrotra, right ear. So coming to the same Matrika Nyasa position, the Akshara which is placed in the right ear is U. So Avama Shrotra is U. Bindu Yuktaha along with Anuswara. So we get the letter M, U and Anuswara. Mum. That is the next letter. Then Tat Tritiyakaha. The third letter from Ta. Ta, ta, da. So Da is the next letter. So Tat Tritiyakaha is Da. Narayanena Sammishraha. So just like Matrika there is something called Keshavadinyasa. And in the Keshavadinyasa, the mantra Narayana is represented by the bija A. So when we say Tat Tritiyakaha Narayanena Sammishraha means it is Da plus A, Da. So that is the next one. Vayuhu cha Adhara Samyutaha. Vayu is Yam. Everyone who has performed the Lamityadi Puja knows that Ya is the Vayu Bija. So Ya, Adhara. Adhara is once again by the Matrika Nyasa rule. The Adhara Oshta is I. So Ya with I. You get Yai. Then the shloka itself says Viche. Navarnakaha. So these are the Nava Arnaka, the 9-lettered or 9-syllabled mantra. Mahat Ananda Dayakaha. So Vangmaya Brahmasuhu Tasmat Shashtam Vaktra Samanvitam Suryaha Avama Shrotra Bindu Yuktaha Tat Tritiyakaha Narayanena Sammishraha Vayuhu cha Adhara Samyutaha Viche Navarnakaha Anuhusyat Mahat Ananda Dayakaha. So now I hope you might have understood what is the mistake that you find in the printed books. In all the printed books, in the mantra, you will find the Tavarga Nakara, whereas you don't have any Tavarga Nakara reference in the Uddhara Shloka. You are only having the Anuswara. While doing the mantra upasana or mantra japa, one has to pay attention that he uses the Swarupa of Mum only. We cannot bring in the Vyakarana rules, okay, and do the replacement by Sandhi and all those things, because it is beyond the scope of the Vyakarana rules here. So this Navarna mantra is the prerequisite for any person who has to even chant the Saptashati. And since it is completely packed with the Purvanga and the Uttaranga, and each of these elements, that 700 components that we saw, they are treated as the mantra. We have the Vinyoga of the Chandi in Homa. Because in Homa, you can use only mantra. You don't have the practice of doing a Homa using a shloka or a stuti. That is why it is a mantra. So Chandi is the nama for the text when it assumes the mantra swarup. And Sri Bhaskar Raya, he wrote 3 texts which we call as the Shri Vidya Prasthanatraya. The first is the Varivasya Rahasya, which is the explanation for the Srimad Panchadashakshari Vidya or Shri Vidya as we call. And he gives different types of artha, meanings for this Panchadashakshari mantra. And the very first start, okay, other 2 texts are Setu Bandhu Vyakya on Vamakeshwari Mata. And the third is the Lalita Sahasranama Bhashya, which is called a Saubhagya Bhaskara. Now, the very first meaning that he offers for the Panchadashakshari Vidya is to equate the Panchadashakshari Vidya with Gayatri, the Savitri Gayatri mantra that we have. What he would do is he would map, see in the Panchadashakshari Vidya, there are 3 kutas, the Vagbhav Kuta, the Kamaraja Kuta, the Shakti Kuta. He would map the 24 letters of the Savitri Gayatri with the aksharas in each of the kuta. And the conclusion is, one Panchadashakshari Vidya Japa is equivalent to 4 times the Savitri Gayatri Japa. Because each kuta represents 1, 1, 1, so 3. And there is a Samashti Artha also. So the 4th. So similarly, Chandi Navakshari mantra also can be equated with the Savitri Gayatri. And this again, though it is not explicitly referred, but Katyayani Tantra gives an hint towards this. I will tell you in short, when you break down the Navakshari mantra into the various components of the swaras and the anuswaras and the vyanjanaksharas, totally you have 9 swaras. Okay, you have 9 swaras. For example, in cha you have a, in da you have another a, which is a swara. Okay, then in the second bijakshara itself we have e. Then the third bijakshara also you have e. Like this, when you calculate the total number of swaras, there are 9 swaras, 4 anuswaras, and there are 11 vyanjanaksharas or hal, totally 24 letters. And that is how Katyayani Tantra says that the Navakshari mantra or Navakshari Vidya is equivalent to the Savitri Gayatri. Okay. Like I said, I will try to give a kind of a background as to how or why the Saptashati itself came into being. We all know it is part and parcel of the Markandeya Purana. So Markandeya, Maharshi Markandeya was son of Rishi Mrikandu and Devi Marudmati. They were Bhargava Vansh. They were from the Bhrigukula. So Rishi Mrikandu, who had performed tapas for a very long time, he gets the boon of a son who would be extremely brilliant but short-lived. 16 years. And Maharshi Markandeya also grew up to be such an exceptional son, more importantly, an exceptional devotee of Parameshwara. And on that day that was marked to be the last day, his father tells him, or at a day or 2 days before, his father tells him that this is going to be your last few days. So he wishes to spend his time in the upasana of his Aradhya Devata, which is Parashiva. So he completely immerses himself in the worship. And when the time for him to leave uh, or the destined 16 years happens, the Yamadutas appear on the scene. But the Yamadutas are so powerless against the tapas of Rishi Markandeya. So they go back and report to Yamadharmaraja saying that they are unable to even approach him. So he himself Yamadharma himself comes down in order to take back the life. He sees him in the worship of Shivalinga. And in a hurry and in frustration, he casts his noose, his pasha. Unfortunately for Yama, the pasha not only uh, binds or falls on the neck of Rishi Markandeya, but it also falls on the Shivalinga itself. So from the Shivalinga, we the narration is that Shiva himself emerges and kicks Yama with his left foot. Okay, you have to note the left foot. He kicks Yamadharma with his left foot. This is called as the Kala Samhara Murti. In the Shaiva Siddhanta, there are 25 Maheshwara Murtis listed. The conceptualization in the Shaiva Siddhanta is that there is one Swarupa of Shiva, which is Parashiva, which is beyond anyone's imagination or description. There is also a Tatastha Swarupa. And this Tatastha Swarupa exists as Arupa, Rupa, Rupa, and Rupa. Arupa is in the form of Sadashiva. Rupa, Rupa is in the form of the Shivalinga because it has both form as well as it is formless. And the Rupa is those with all the proper iconographical details. And this Rupa, there are 25. They are called as the Maheshwara Murtas. And in the Maheshwara Murtas also, they classify the Maheshwara Murtas into Yoga Murti, Bhoga Murti, and Avesha Murti or Veera Murti. Yoga Murti example is Dakshinamurti. Bhoga Murti is when he is accompanied by Devi, such as Kalyana Sundara, Umalingana, etc. Avesha Murti or Veera Murti is normally a kind of a Samhara Murti. For example, there is a Gaja Samhara, Kamadahana. And in this case, it is Kala Samhara. So it is an Avesha or a Veera Murti, where the Avesha is also for Loka Kalyana. The anger is also displayed for the Loka Kalyana. So he manifests himself as the Kala Samhara Murti. There are 8 such Veera Murtis, and in Tamil Nadu there are 8 such sacred places which we call as Atta Veerattana Sthalam. Okay, that is Veera Sthalas, where we have very, very beautiful bronzes, and they are the places where these 8 acts of Veera were recreated for certain devotees by Shiva himself. So they are called as Atta Veerattanam. So the place where this Kala Samhara happens is on the banks of a sea. Okay, sorry, on the shore of the sea. The sthala is called as Tirukkadavur. Tirukkadavur is around 20 kilometers approximately from Chidambaram. Now, according to the Puranas, this Kalantaka or the Kalasamhara took place near the Markanda river in the Kurukshetra. We have a temple of Markandeshwar Mahadev temple near Kurukshetra. So, the Puranic sthala where this took place is near Kurukshetra. Reenactment is in Tirukkadavur. So, right next to the temple, there is a cremation ground which is called as Kadavur Mayanam. Mayanam means cremation ground. The place where Yama was burnt to death. So, there is Yama Samhara takes place. Okay, it is not that kicking of Yama himself. It is Yama Samhara which takes place. Then there is another place where Yama is born again, Tiruppainguli, which is near Trichy. And there is a third place called Srivanjiyam, where Yama is restored back to his Dandanatha position. So, where he sits with the Danda in his hand. So, these three places are worshipped by people who have any dosha in their jataka with respect to the life and longevity. And normally, people who have the 60th, that is the Sashtiyabda Purti or the Shatabhisheka and all, they go to this Tirukadavur. The principal deity is called as Amrita Ghateshwara, and the Devi is called as Abhirami. Okay, the glory of Devi Abhirami is something unique because in the time of Sharabhoji king, there was a devotee by who was a priest in the temple, and and he was always lost in the thoughts of Devi. The king, the Maratha king, Sarfoji, he visits and he asks him, "What is today's tithi?" He is lost in thoughts of Devi and he says, "It is Purnima," whereas it was Amavasya. So the king is upset and angry that the priest could lie to him. So he punishes him, a very cruel form of punishment where he will be hung with 100, suspended on a plate or a plank, okay, which will have 100 ropes, and the ropes will be cut one by one, and there will be a burning fire underneath. So when the last rope is cut, he will fall down into the fire. So that was the punishment announced to him. And for each rope that was cut, he sung one poem in Tamil. And it is in Antyadi. Okay, it is called as Abhirami Andadi. Antyadi, the last letter is the first letter of the next shloka. So like this 100 shlokas, he sings. The time of singing the 100th shloka, Devi Abhirami, she casts her nose ring into the air, and that becomes like the Chandra, and the king sees a moon on a Amavasya night. And the importance of this Abhirami Andadi is that it has all the Mantra Shastra elements that one can find in Saundaryalari. So you can call it as some sort of an Tamil re-rendering of the Saundaryalari itself. Okay, coming back to the original thing. So this happening in the Amritagateshwara temple. Now, I asked you to make a note of Shiva kicking him with the left leg. Now, according to the Tantragamas, the right feet of Shiva is the Prakasha Charana, which represents Shiva Tattva. The left feet of Shiva represents Shakti Tattva, which is the Vimarsha Charana. So, who is actually doing the Kalantaka or Kala Samhara is Devi. She is called, therefore, as Mrityu Mathani, one who destroys Mrityu. there is one Purana, Upa Purana, which is called as a Sati Purana. In Sati Purana, we have the continuity to this Kala Samhara episode, wherein Devi appears in front of Markandeya and she tells him that because he was saved by her grace, he would compose a Veera Charitra. And that Veera Charitra is the Devi Mahatmya we find in the Markandeya Purana. So, this is the background. Now, coming back to this thing. See, Rishi Jaimani, who is one of the four Sishyas of Sri Vedavyasa, he asked Sri Vedavyasa 4 questions on Dharma. No, he says Dharma Sandeha. There are 4 questions. He enlists those 4 questions and he asks him. I'll quickly tell those questions. Like, first question, like, why was Lord Krishna, who is in spite of being divinity, why does he have to be born as human and suffer? Second question was, why did Devi Draupadi become a common wife to the Pancha Pandavas? Third was, why did Balarama abandon and go on a pilgrimage, and that too as a prayaschitta for performing certain sin? The fourth was, why were the sons of the Draupadi killed as if they had no protector at all? So these were the 4 questions that Jaimini had, and he asks Shri Vedavyasa. But Vedavyasa was in a hurry. So he directs Jaimini to 4 birds who are residing in the Vindhya mountains. The 4 birds were Pingaksha, Vibodha, Suputra, and Sumukha. So he says, go and ask those 4 birds and get your doubts clarified. And these 4 birds clarify these doubts. I will not go to those questions because that will take a different turn altogether. So they answer the doubts, and as a continuation of that dialogue, there is another in their conversation between those 4 birds and Jaimini. They narrate a conversation between Rishi Markandeya and another Rishi by name Bhaguri. So, the conversation between Markandeya Maharshi and Bhaguri is the Devi Mahatmya. That is why it starts as Markandeya Uvacha. Savarni Surya Tanayaha Yo Manukatya Teshtamaha Nishameda Dutpattim Vistarat Gadato Mama. Markandeya Uvacha is the answer. Okay. So, the question is, tell me the narration of the Savarni, who is the son of Surya, that is Vaivasvata Manu. Okay. He is asking him to narrate the story of the Vaivasvata Manu. This is what I said. The entire episode is in a form of dialogues between Markandeya and Bhaguri, which is an extension of dialogue between Jaimini and the 4 birds, wherein the stories of the 14 Manus are given. So, the 8th Manu, Yo Manuhu Kathyate Ashtamaha. The story of the 8th Manu, okay, his previous birth, okay, his previous birth is narrated in the entire thing. So, the king that we come across in the Saptashati, Suratha Nama Raja Bhut. Okay, so that Suratha becomes the 8th Manu because that is the Varapradana of Devi. At the end of the 13th chapter, Devi gives him the boon that not only that you will get the Rajya here, but you will also become the next Manu. So that is the thing. There are some very interesting aspects I'm sorry, I don't have much time here. The reason Savarni Surya Tanayaha. See, there is a huge explanation which is given for this. But just why Savarni Surya Tanaya? Will it not have been enough that just Savarni could have been said why Surya Tanaya? It's because there were other Manus who were sons of others. For example, there was one Daksha Savarani, there was one Brahma Savarani. Okay, in order to Ruchi Savarani, in order to differentiate them, and he being the son of Vivaswan or Vaivasvata Manu, he is called as Surya Tanayaha Savarani. And the three important characters. The Rishi is Sumedha. Okay, there is a Suratha is the king. Samadhi is one Vaishya. Samadhi gets in the end the moksha. Okay, that is the Varapradana for it. Who is this Rishi Sumedha? Rishi Sumedha, as per the Lakshmi Tantra, is none other than Maharshi Vasishtha. Because Maharshi Vasishtha, if you see that initial setting, the kingdom of the king Suratha is near the Dandakaranya. Okay, the present Maharashtra region. Kola Vidvamsi Bhi. Okay, the Kola Vidvamsis who take over his this thing, they are near that Kolhapur region. So he comes to the forest, and in the forest he enters the ashrama of the Rishi Sumedha. So in the Lakshmi Tantra, there is an explicit Vakya which says that Sumedha is none but Vasishta himself. Chalo, okay, this is one external reference. Do we have anything internal in Adi Kavya itself? Do we have any such reference in Adi Kavya itself? There is a reference that we all know that Maharshi Vasishta was the younger brother of Maharshi Agastya. Okay? And when Rama was spending time in the Dandakaranya, in the Panchavati, first he meets Maharshi Agastya and then he chooses to spend his major part of his exile in the Panchavati. At that particular this thing, he narrates, Agastya narrates that nearby is the ashrama of my brother. And there is only one brother of Maharshi Agastya because they were both Kumbhajanmas. Okay, they were Maitravaranis. So Maharshi Vasishta had an ashrama in the Dandakaranya region. And it is to this ashrama that the king Suratha enters and he gets the Upadesha. There are 8 questions that he asks in the very first Adhyaya. And as an answer to these 8 questions, we have the entire 12 later chapters and a part of the first chapter, which plans out and narrates the various Akhyanas and Upakhyanas of Devi. All these Akhyanas and Upakhyanas of Devi are enlisted in the very first Dhyana Shloka for the mantra. Now, I will just conclude this reconnecting it. Normally, for any mantra upasana, Dhyana Shloka will try to give a visual representation of Devi or the Devata, whatsoever. If it is a Mahaganapati, for example, then it will say Bija Pura Gadeksha Karmuja Chakra Abja Pasha Utpala Vyatyagra Svavishana Ratnagalasha Prodyatkara Amhorugaha Yeyo Vallabhaya Sabatmakaraya Shrishta Ujjalat Bhushaya Vishwa Utpatti Vipatti Samsthitikaro Vignesho Ishtarthada. So it is giving the complete iconographical details of Mahaganapati himself. But for Navakshari, you will not find anything like this. The shloka that is used for Navakshari is Matar me Madhakaita Bhagni Mahisha Prana Paherodhyame Hela Nirmita Dhumralojanavade He Chandamundardini निस्सेशीकृत रक्तबीज धनुजे नित्ये निशुंभापहे शुंभध्वंसनि संहराचदृतं दुर्गे नमस्ते अंबिके. There is no iconographical details of Devi in this Dhyana Shloka. Dhyana Shloka is supposed to give that. Every Dhyana Shloka is supposed to give that. The reason is Navakshara Mantra is the body or is the soul, or let's equate that, okay, is the tattva, and the sharira, which is what a dhyana shloka is supposed to give, is the saptashati. This shloka is capturing all the important episodes from saptashati, and it is showing saptashati as the sukshma sharira of the Devi in the form of Shabdarashi. So when you say Mataha, she is the origin of the all. Okay. So very first adhyaya, we can relate that. Madhugaita Bhagni. The first adhyaya is the description of how, as the Yoga Nidra, she withdraws herself from and then Vishnu gets up from the Yoga Nidra and slays Madhu and Kaitaba. So Mataha Madhu Kaita Bhagni. So this is the Swarupa of Shri Mahakali. So Mahamaya Vimohitau. Okay, she is the Mahamaya. Then next is Mahisha Prana Apaharodyame. So that is the second and the third adhyaya, where we have the Mahisha Vadha and the Mahisha Senani Vadha, etc. That she destroyed his life. Okay, Mahisha Prana Apahara Udyame. In the Saptashati, she says, Garja Garja Kshanam Mudha Madhuyavat Pibamyaham Maya Twayi Hate Atraiva Garjishyanti Ashu Devata. So, Mahisha Prana Apahara Udyame. The next is Hela Nirmita Dhumra Lochana Vadhe. One who destroyed the... So, the second Mahisha Vadha is over. So, 1, 2, 3. Fourth is the Stuti that comes. The fifth is once again the Stuti. At the end of it, near the end, in the sixth starting, we have the Vadha of Dhumralochana. And how does Devi perform Dhumralochana Vadha? Hunkareneva tam bhasma sachakarambika. It just pronounced hum, and he was burned. And he was called as Dhumralochana, fiery eyes. So, Hela Nirmita Dhumra, like a sport, she destroyed Dhumralochana. He Chanda Munda Ardini. One who destroyed Chanda and Munda. How does she do? By using her sword. So this is one shloka. If there are people here who are doing the Parayana of Saptashati, you should note that many of the printed text, they have this shloka printed, or the punctuation of this shloka is given wrong. It is normally Utthayacha Mahasin Ham Devi Chandam Adhavata. Utthayacha Mahasim Ham Devi Chandam Adhavata. It is not Utthayacha Mahasimham. Utthaya Mahasim. Asi, Maha Asi. So huge sword. And with that sword, she destroys the Chanda and Munda. Okay, so Chanda Munda Ardini. Then she is Nisseshikrita Rakta Bija Tanuje. She destroyed Rakta Bija and all those who were born from Rakta Bija. So Tanuja, those who were born from Rakta Bija's body, were also destroyed by her. Nisseshikrita, not leaving a trace behind. Because what she does is she swallows them and she assimilates them into herself. Nitye, she is eternal. And this is found in many of the stutis, wherein she is praised as Nityaiva sa Jaganmurti. So Nitye, Shumbha Apahaye, one who destroyed Shumbha. Shumbha-dvamsini. Sorry, Nishumbha Apahe and Shumbha-dvamsini. One who destroyed Nishumbha and Shumbha. So, Me Duritam Ashu. Okay, you have to also destroyed Me Duritam. So, Samhara. Durge Namaste Ambike. And that is the final 13th shloka, where there is a complete surrender to Devi. And that surrender to Devi bestows Yoga as in case of Suratha and Moksha as in case of Samadhi. So that is why we say that for those who are in the Upasana of Devi, Yogascha Mokshascha Karastha Eva. Shri Sundari Upasaka Tantarata Pungavanam Bhogascha Mokshascha Karastha Eva. You can get both Bhoga and Moksha, not one at the cost of the other. You can enjoy both if you are in the path of the Upasana of Devi. So with this, I thank everyone here, all the organizers, and sorry I overshot the time by 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Acharya, for your insightful session. Now, if anyone have any question, you can text in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask Acharya.
Acharya, I think we have a question in the chat box. So Gauriji wants to ask, what is the right tithi? So basically prerequisite, those who do these Parayanas, Devi Mahatmya or Saptashati, what are the prerequisites for it, the time and all that?
Tithi, it is listed, it is given in the text itself. Krishnashtami, Krishna Navami, and Chaturdashi. Krishna Chaturdashi. These are the 3 tithis just dearest for Devi. We add 2 more to it. This is, and we call this as Pancha Parva. The 5 Parvas on which the Devi should be worshipped, which is the Purnamasya and Amavasya. The Navami is replaced by Sankranti. So if we go by the Panchaparva scheme, it is Ashtami, Chaturdashi, Amavasya, Purnima, and Sankranti. Otherwise, if we just follow the text of Devi Mahatmya, there are 3 tithis there. Ashtami, Krishna, Ashtami, Navami, and Chaturdashi. Krishnayam va Chaturdashyam, Navamyam va Samahita. That's how the shloka is. And what is the Purvanga and Uttaranga? Now, this is something one has to learn from one's own Sampradaya. Okay, but normally I can tell you that we have the Kavacha, Argala, Kilaka. Then the Navakshara Japa is there. And there are a few Nyasas. Then there is the Ratri Sukta Patha. Then we have the Charitratraya. And after the Charitratraya, there is the Devi Sukta Patha. And after that, we have after that we have Rahasya Traya. Vipradhanika, Vaikritika, and so this is the normal Patha scheme. But one has to learn from Gurumukha because there are some additions also done. Some rearrangement in the sequences are also done. Because some will add Ekadashanyasas there. Some add Siddha Kunjika there. Okay, so all this one has to properly learn as per one's Sampradaya.
Renukaji, we have one more question, I guess. So, Acharya, is there any instance where Parvatraj Himalaya and his wife took shelter at Markandeya ashram for protection of themselves by asuras?
Is there any such instance is what you are asking me?
Yes, Acharya.
Okay, I am not sure. I don't recall.
Okay, so
but one
Sachi
cannot
ji,
be sure until he has read the Puranas in entirety.
Okay, Acharya. Any other question from anyone?
Very insightful session, Acharya. Very nice. We all liked it.
Yes, and Acharya, especially you told the difference between Chandi Mahatmya and Saptashati. It was very nice, and the Markandeya story. So,
Namaste, Acharya.
Namaste.
Is
Yes.
it okay, like normally we learn to chant Bhagavad Gita? Is it okay to normally learn Durga Saptashati also? Or is there any need for gurus in session? I mean, like guru's presence.
Like I said in the beginning, you can chant the 4 stotras that you have. First chapter, the one in the 4th chapter, the one in the 5th chapter, and one in the 11th chapter. These 4 stotras anyone can chant, but for chanting it as a parayana krama, one has to have a proper upadesha from Guru. Practice Navakshari Japa. For example, in our Sampradaya, one has to practice Akshara Laksha before he starts the first parayana. So without completing Navalaksha Japa, I cannot open the Saptashati text and restart reading it. My Shri Guru used to give an analogy. He says, like, you put the money in the bank, then only you can withdraw. So the Mantra Japa alone gives us the qualification to do the Parayana and reap the benefits.
Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you so much, Acharya. It was really an insightful session. And we request you to guide us in future also with same sessions and different insights of Bhagavati. So thank you everyone for joining the session. And tomorrow we'll be having insights from Vishnu Purana by Abhinav Kadambiji. So let us meet tomorrow. Dhanyavada. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Pranam Acharya.
Pranamah Acharya.